as a homeowner that might not have experience, if you want to general contract your house, the biggest thing you need to understand is the time commitment, and understand that you are the person that's going to need to have all the answers. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Coffee Break. This is episode 28, where we answer questions from homeowners as well as other industry professionals. If you guys have a question for a future show, make sure you drop it in the comments below. We'll select them at random, and I'll do my best to answer them. This week, we have a question from a homeowner. What advice do you have for someone building a home as their own general contractor, hiring out subs to do some of the work and doing some of the work themselves? This is a loaded question, and it sounds like this particular individual can do some of the work. It's not always the case. I'm going to try to talk about it in both scenarios here. So there's nothing wrong. I feel like the immediate answer is like, don't do it. It's going to be a nightmare if you contract it yourself, which that's just not the case. What general contracting really takes is organization, and forethought, and just good communication. So if you have those skills going into it, you don't necessarily need to understand how to build the house. I don't think a good project manager has to know how to build the house. I think it certainly helps, but there's other things that can help kind of crutch that side of their knowledge. Just like some guys come into this trade as a project manager in home building or as a carpenter, and others come into it from more of we'll call it the spreadsheet side. And there's benefits to both, and the handicap is obviously the opposite, and figuring out how to use a crutch to work through those handicaps. Now, as a homeowner that might not have experience, if you want to general contract your house, the biggest thing you need to understand is the time commitment, and understand that you are the person that's going to need to have all the answers. And that is something that is, every single day. There's countless hours that are going to be, work towards that. And there's ways to work around that and kind of plan for it. And what I'm getting at is having a good team. The subcontractors not always going into this as a general contractor in the mindset that I'm gonna take the lowest bid, or this is gonna save me a ton of money, because I don't think that's the right approach. Going into general contracting your own home with the mindset that you're gonna save a lot of money, I think would be setting yourself up for failure, because you're going to need to work with really qualified subcontractors that don't require the daily or the hourly supervision or communication with the manager. Otherwise, they're going to be left to go through the motion that they're most comfortable with, or that they've done on every other job. And depending on what the quality of the outcome was, is going to be, what you end up with is the product of that. And, and that's also hard, because it's like, well, I can just walk a couple of their jobs, see how they did on these jobs, and I'll have a good understanding of what the quality was. But, those other jobs were maybe they were with a general contractor or a really good project manager that, they didn't just end up with that result because that was the motion that they ran through. They end up with that result because they worked with a really good project manager or a general contractor to help them get that result. Let's talk about plaster or paint. The painter ended up with that result because he worked behind a really great plasterer, that worked behind a really great framer, that worked behind a really great architect, that worked behind a really great project manager. There's layers to this. So, working with really qualified subcontractors, there's usually going to be a price to pay on that side of it, and you're going to pay a little bit of a premium. So the money that you're quote unquote saving as general contracting yourself, I would advise that you work with, you pay a little bit more, and you work with the guys that are really qualified, the guys that have a really great reputation, that come from a high rapport of quality built homes, or just what working at a level that might require a little less supervision, but also going into that, not saying, I'm paying them. And here's the flip side: you don't pay for the most expensive guy, the most qualified guy, and just think that they can run without that supervision, because it still requires supervision. It still requires the communication and the forethought and the collaboration as the general contractor. There's still that support, because again, there's layers and so many people are involved in these decisions and these, all these micro decisions that end up with this macro product, which would be your house. So regardless of where your price point is, it's going to require supervision, even if you're paying at the top end of it. But paying at the bottom end of it is going to require more, and so much so that it's, it really becomes possibly a hand-holding exercise where you're basically, hand-holding them through the process and what you want. But let's talk about that, setting expectations. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, making sure that those expectations are clear. Don't just hire, the painter and just say, yeah, we just want the house painted. Walk them through, understand their process. What do you guys do? Do you guys test we deal with plaster. A lot of you guys don't. Are you guys testing the pH? Are you making sure that the plaster is dry? What primer are you using? Is it, and maybe do some research or make sure that they know it's a plastered wall, so they have to use a primer that's designed for plaster. And do you sand between coats? How many coats of finish are you putting on? Are you spray finishing? If you're expecting certain results, you need to communicate those. Maybe you're not expecting it, but I'm talking to people that are. Maybe you're expecting a spray finish on all the trim or in the walls. But they come in, they start rolling the walls, and it's, that wasn't a communication. And that's a reflection on you as a general contractor. You need to set those expectations. Now, general contracting as another builder or someone that can do some of this work, it's the same thing. It's going to be a huge time suck. And, the amount of time that goes into it, that's why you hire general contractors. That's why you hire these people to facilitate the work for you, because you are typically busy in your career or your life and rather than having to manage. For us, we have dedicated project management, and they're working closely with the client, the architect, and the team on site. And most of the project manager's time is spent on site. They're working with an assistant project manager, and they're really the communication funnel, where everything's coming there and making sure that the communication is thorough. Again, expectation, communication, like those are the two things that really set a project up for success or failure. So, doing a lot of the work, again, I wouldn't go into this saying that I'm going to save a ton of money, because yes, maybe you're not paying, say you're a finish carpenter, maybe you're not paying a finish carpenter, the hours to put the finish trim in, but you're still, you do need to general contract the work. So you're now a finish carpenter and general contractor. Now, the other side of this is, I guess I'm sitting here thinking that it would be on the same schedule as a regular project. Maybe it's not. Maybe you take 18 months instead of 12 to build it, or 24 months instead of 12, where you can go at a little bit of a slower pace and you have more time to digest these questions and work through. That still needs to be set as an expectation, where a lot of these guys are billing based on completion of work. So if you don't plan for that project to move at a fast pace, and the plumber's coming in and out to get rough done, because they come there, they rough, and then they ask you questions, and it's a week before they get the answers. You have to understand, you have to respect and appreciate the fact that they can't operate that way. So it's going back and, really putting a lot of the thought into just the communication and setting those expectations. But even from the design side, I think if you're going to general contract the home yourself, I think working with a really good designer or architect is going to help facilitate that communication much better. I think working with an architect in general makes a project a lot easier. There is someone that's really spending the time, pen to paper, quite literally working through these details. And for us, when we're working with a good architect, it makes that project so much easier for us. And I say easier, but almost easier in the sense that we get to start going through the motion, and we get to start challenging things, because we aren't spending the time designing it. We're working with a design team, an architect that is facilitating this, and we're working together for a common plan. So as a general contractor, or someone that wants to general contract their own home, having that side of it, someone that is putting pen to paper and really working through the design, is going to help again, make that project more successful. And in some sense, you can pay them a CM fee, construction management fee, where maybe they're coming in and checking once a week, walking through, double checking what they've designed is actually being built. The key details that they know that they have implemented are being hit. And I think that, and I know that is going to help take the burden off, homeowner GC. So, in short, as a homeowner, like, to general contract your own project, sure. But you have to understand that there's a huge time suck behind this. You have to set these expectations. And I would not go into it believing that this would be a way for you to save money. And ultimately, I mean, we're a general contractor. We're, a mill workshop. We're a team of carpenters, project managers. That's what we're hired for. This is our job, is to set these expectations, to be communicative, making sure that communication is at the absolute forefront of our projects, working with really great architects, working with really great homeowners, and working with a really great team of trades to facilitate the build of a home. So if you're not considering general contracting your own house and you're in the Boston area, then maybe give us a call and we can chat about it. Till then, we'll see you guys next week on next week's Coffee Break.